Now let's solve reverse words in a string. In this problem, we're given an input string s, and we need to reverse the order of the words. Now there are some constraints and conditions that we need to follow. So let's go through the examples and see what exactly we need to do. If we have a string s which is equal to the sky is blue, we need to return blue is the sky. If we have a string s that has leading and trailing spaces, as well as the strings hello world or any other string, what we need to return is world hello, and so we need to get rid of the leading and trailing spaces. And in example 3, we have s is equal to a good example. If you notice right here, we have multiple consecutive spaces, but we need to treat them as an individual space, and so what we need to return is example good A. So the way we're going to solve this is, first and foremost, we're going to utilize the trim function in strings, and what that looks like is just this. S is going to be equal to s.trim, so update our string variable s to be s.trim. And what s.trim does is it literally gets rid of any leading and trailing spaces. So s, which before was equal to space hello world space, would just be hello world. No extra spaces in the beginning or in the end. So that's one condition already sorted out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create an array of strings. We'll call this words. And what I want to store in words is literally every word in our string without spaces before or after. So just the alone, sky alone, is alone, and blue alone, obviously in our words array. And the way we're going to do that is string words is going to be equal to s dot split, and then in quotations 2 backslashes s plus. So we've never seen something like this before on my channel, at least. Let me go ahead and explain what we're doing. In our words array, like I said, we want to store all the words in string s without the spaces. So s.split is going to split our string. Now what this means, before I go more into depth on what it does and how it works, is that we're splitting the word based on one or more consecutive spaces. So every time we have one or more consecutive spaces, like here, that's one space. Like here, we have multiple spaces. Every time we see a space, by that point, we would have split the word and added it into our words array. Now to go more in depth, what we're really looking at is actually the backslash s plus. In Java, the backslash is interpreted as an escape character, so escape the next character. Now this is useful because it gives us some cool things that we can do. For example, if we had system.out.print and we wanted to print hello world, if I added a backslash n here and I run this line of code, what's going to print out is hello on one line and world on a new line. So the backslash n stands for new line. If I had /t instead and we ran this line of code, what we'd actually get is hello and then a space, but the space is actually a tab space, and then hello world. And there are more functions that we can do with this. So what backslash s does here is it looks for one space. So we're splitting based on one space. And what the plus does is it takes into account more than one spaces. Now you may be asking, why do we need to include 2 backslashes, not just one? That's because methods in string usually expect regex. What regex is a shorter term for regular expression. And what it does, or what it means, is it's basically a sequence of characters that match a certain pattern. And in this example, the pattern that we're looking for is more than one consecutive spaces. So, like I said, they usually expect a regex, and regex are strings. But since they expect regex, Java is actually going to interpret this in 2 different processes. The first one is when it expects a regex, and what we need to do is we need to include 2 backslashes. What 2 backslashes do is it tells Java that we literally want a backslash. So when we use the escape character backslash and 2 of them follow each other, we're telling Java that we literally want to type this out. And then after the first interpretation, what we're left with is this. And then Java can run this escape character without giving us a compile time error. So if we had just one backslash s plus in the beginning, this will give us a compile time error because after it interprets it as a regex, and this is gone, it's not going to know what s plus is. So now with our words split, all we need to do is, well, first of all, we need to create a string builder sb, which is equal to new string builder. And a string builder is basically a string but it gives us access to more methods and it allows us to modify the string without having to destroy it every time, especially in loops, which happens with normal strings, and it's known as a mutable class opposed to strings which are immutable, which is what I just explained with how it destroys the string to create a new one. Now what we're gonna do is for int I, which is equal to word dot length minus 1, as long as I is greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus. We're going to first point at the last word in our words array, and we're going to append it to our string builder. So sb.append, or add it to our string builder basically, sb.append words at I. Now we would be done, but there's one more thing we need to account for, and that's if we're on the last word. So if we're not on the last word. So if if I is greater than 0, then sb.append a space. So what we're doing is we have this array of string words, which is equal to, in example 1, the sky is blue. We're looking at the last word, which is blue. We're appending it, and then we're checking if I is pointing at not the last word. So sky is blue. If I is pointing to any one of these words, then after we append any one of these words, we also have to append a space. But when we reach the last word, which is when I is equal to 0, we don't want to append a space. Otherwise, we're going to get blue is sky, and then space. So that's pretty much it. All we have to return now is sb.toString, since the function wants us to return a string, and we can run our code. Accept. So that was the reverse words in a string problem on LeetCode. I hope you found that video helpful, and thanks for watching.